digs out for Harambe. Harambe is the best animal.
This is the strongest build in D4, and it's not due to having the most damage in the game, but it's rather due to the insane speed this build has. Blasting through tier 150s is no problem, and pit 100s? Well, you tell me if it gets the job done. The reason this build is so insanely fast is twofold, where one of the folds is on Big Dam, and the second is one is Big AOE. And if that wasn't enough, it also has a secret third fold, and that is being completely Harambe approved. And if you don't play this build, then his death was all for nothing. Now, this is also something important to consider about this build. I made this for everyone, meaning we'll cover everything about this build and how you can go from being absolutely dogshit with no gear to the Uber setup and everything in between, because I'm looking out for you all. And you know it, my man or woman. So starting us off, let's talk about what makes this build. And in case you already know the basics, then feel free to skip forward in the video, just be aware that I may crush your balls for it. In any way, to understand the build, you need to understand the Rod of Kepaliki. The text on this thing is a mile long for a good reason. It's broken. For starters, it's slapping a basic skill tag onto our core skills so we can utilize those for more damage. It also makes you hit for the maximum size of the skill always, so tempering size increases on core skills is fucking useless. But what's truly important is that it makes you spend all of your resources, where each resource increases your damage by 3%. Due to this, you want a shit ton of vigor, along with instantly restoring your resources back again. What's also interesting about this skill is that resource cost reduction increases this damage as well. This is not a bug, by the way, and can be seen as if you're spending more than 100% of your resources each time you cast a skill with it on. Confusing, yes, but it is what it is. Just know that it makes resource cost reduction highly valuable. Next up, we have the Banished Lord's Talisman. To utilize this in combination with the Rod of Kepaliki to overpower each cast, we need to spend 275 resources each time. To do this, you need 245 maximum vigor. But Mr. Perragaming, you just said 275? Yes, I did. This does seem like a bug indeed. If you hover over your Harambe skill, then it says it costs 0 vigor. But remove it, and it says 33 if you have no resource cost reduction, on which doesn't make any sense either. Either way, I'll show some ways in which you can reach these breakpoints easily later in the video, and you should aim for roughly 250 at least. Let's just leave it at that. Next on the agenda, we have the resource generation. The absolute easiest way to solve resources is to use the Midnight Sun Ring along with resource generation, preferably from Shroud of False Death. Yen's Blessing is also an option. You may also have seen an alternative way to solve resources, and that is using a lucky hit chance to restore resource. I'm going to have that version in the planner, but there is a massive caveat here. This only works on large packs of enemies and is due to Harambe Punchman's skill having god-awful lucky hit chance. But for pushing, you're going to fight with large packs all the time, or else you'll get fucked. I'm just mentioning it. If you're like me, however, then you enjoy taking it easy and just doing some brain-dead blasting, and then Midnight Sun is perfect. And it just so happens that there is a resource calculator showing you exactly how much resource generation you need for this to work, and I'll guide you through it later as well. All right, friends, a lot of promises here. So let's head straight for the gear and aspects, and you should start understanding it all. For starters, I'm using Shaco. This is a pretty huge damage loss. And despite that, I'm using it in this version. Why is that? Well, shit, for speed, of course, it's 40% cooldown reduction, and in Prodigy's Tempo, it says that each skill rank increases the cooldown reduction of the key passive by 2%. And it just so happens that Shaco grants all skills 4 ranks. All right, Mr. Perragaming, I'm starting to get it now. It grants instantly cooldown resets, right? Damn right, my clever friend. But for pushing, I recommend this helmet right here, where Resilient grants maximum health, which is by far the most important stat for this build. This is due to the Viscous Shield legendary node. And what you need to know about this node is that it's giga-bugged. If this was working correctly, then we would get a 33% damage bonus if our max life was fully stacked up with a barrier. But what it is doing right now is that it's using base life, so you can replace the line that says maximum life with base life, and you get the correct explanation. And the base life is 400 or something close to it, meaning that if you have a barrier for 40,000 life, then you get a multiplier of 100 times, meaning multiplying your damage by 100 and being the most broken passive of all time. Just lovely. For next item, we have the Shroud of False Death. Not everyone has this, so I've prepared this one where you would slap on either the Apprehension aspect or Concussive Strikes aspect and focus on masterworking the maximum resolve stacks. In this particular build, you want to aim for a ratio of 2:1 with maximum resolve stacks compared to resilient stacks, which is due to us getting several multipliers from resolve, where the most important one is from redirected force along with the interdiction aspect, granting more block chance from resolve and in turn more crit damage. If you have the Shroud, however, then we focus on masterworking the max life. For the gloves, you want to start tempering barrier generation. You want 70% barrier generation, as you'll get 30 from your Harambe skill, granting a total of 100% barrier with ease. Other than that, rolling lucky hit. Chance to make enemies vulnerable is insanely important if you're not rocking the Giga Ultra Push setup. For the Pantaloonies, these sucks ass. Max life, dex, and basic skill is the way to go, as we don't really need armor. And why is that? Well, damn, because we're a fucking god tank already. I'm also rocking the Exalxul rune setup for massive health. Next up are the sneakers. The duelist aspect is the way to go here, and of course a bunch of movement speed has to become fast as fuck, boy. But other than that, we just continue grabbing as much max health as possible. For the weapon, shit gets interesting, because this is the most important item by far. You need a max roll on the aspect, which I don't because fuck me, and focus on masterworking the core skill ranks, which I don't have either because fuck me twice. This is an easy doubling of your damage. This is also where you grab the Earthen Bulwark Pock Rune combo to generate barriers, as having amethysts and emerald in your armor is extremely more valuable than shitty weapon gems. Alright, and next up we have the Banished Lord's Talisman. Other than resetting your masterworking a gazillion times to get triple crit on resolve stacks, you want to do it here as well to get the max life sorted, as it's just a humongous life multiplier. And for the final 2 items, you want to prioritize attack speed, max life, and resource cost reduction on the non-unique ring, along with slapping on the Moonrise aspect real good. When it comes to the Midnight Sun ring, you just want to prio the aspect and getting that to 50, as having one with 50 solves your resources with ease. Great job, friends. Gear and aspects are done. Now we're going to cover a few different variations, and how you can solve the gear requirements despite sucking a massive schlong. And first out is the maximum vigor requirement. There's a quick fix just to solve this with one item, and that's Ring of Midday Hunt. By using this along with masterworking your Kepeleke and getting some Perragon levels, you should be able to solve it, especially if you also get max resource on your helmet, which you definitely want anyways. Another option is to grab Tibault's Will, as that item also has max resource on it. Oh, and you also want to focus on upgrading your Menagerist glyph, of course, as this one will boost the nearby max resource nodes as well. And if you instead have problems with resource generation, then we have this calculator for you made by God Gamer Sanctum. So just input your Midnight Sun roll along with your stats and temper or masterwork what you need. The other option I was talking about was using a lucky hit, chance to restore resource. You only want to use this if you're pushing the highest of pits, as you can use this to free up an aspect slot for more damage. But then again, it's extremely unreliable in this build due to the low lucky hit chance, and you would need to grab lucky hit everywhere. Not ideal. And in case you want to go for some kind of mid-route, then you can just slap on the Fell Soothsayer's aspect to utilize the Shatter Tech. You then grab a bunch of enemies together and make them blow up. With this, you'll hit for trillions with decent gear and quadrillions with good gear. Alright friends, that's the tips for today because it's already skill tree a fucking clock. And you know it, baby. The basic skills can't utilize the rod, so they are all getting the per usual treatment. We then want Harambe Hand along with Enhanced Harambe Hand, which solves the last 30% of the barrier which we talked about earlier, and Rampant Crushing Hand for massive schlong damage. We then have some damage passives and vigor generation which we follow up with, some more passives. Snooze, am I right folks? Vortex is lovely though, and by grabbing the knockdown, we can easily use Dominant as well. We also have Ravager here, which solves resources along with grabbing us an easy dash. After that, it's time to pick up our Armored Hide, the counterattack passive which we get from Midnight Sun, and Scourge for the damage bonuses. Perseverance is also a lovely passive, granting us upwards of 40 to 50% damage reduction. Next we go for Resilient, which is just an insane max life bonus, along with some additional passives for more damage. We then head on over to the Ultimates for yet more damage along with our main mobility skills, and finish it all off with Prodigy's Tempo for the cooldown resets. Easy peasy. Nicely done, my friends. Skill tree successfully completed. Let's see what spirits we are rocking. Oh, what a surprise. Double Jaguar just like in any other build. The main Hall Jaguar is bugged as well, double dipping like crazy. And we want the second Jaguar as to keep up those ferocity stacks along with gaining some additional attack speed. But honestly, it doesn't really matter if you pick this one or Gorilla, especially not if you have Shaco, as you'll then be able to keep up the ferocity stacks anyways, just from blasting the Hunter all the time. But you do you, my man. When it comes to the mercenaries, this also depends. Rahir grants the biggest damage bonus due to both granting Fortify, which increases our overpower damage, and one additional damage bonus here. But Subo is the man for speed farming as he provides you with wall hack. The cannibal baddie is hot though, so pick her for reinforcement and partially for the attack speed. Wait, you still here? Well, shit. You must really enjoy my videos, huh? Prove it and drop a sub, will ya? Or I don't know, maybe even become a member and support your favorite YouTuber? Hell yeah. And when you're done, let's check out the Perragons. I'm currently level 250, and in case you're a dogshit newbie, you may not be so fortunate. In that case, focus on just getting the glyph bonus, all the legendary nodes, and the max life nodes first. Then you can start picking up the rest. In the starting board, grab the Revenge glyph for the massive damage bonus. We then head straight for the sapping node, along with all the yummy nodes for resource generation, max resource, and max life. It's then time for yet another lovely glyph, Menagerist. Either Hubris that I'm using currently or Menagerist. An absolute god tier glyph, boosting nearby max resource nodes, along with granting us a whopping 16% big hecking dam. Next up, we grab Convergence for more damage and Socket Outmatch as if our life depended on it. It's then time for our lovely and broken Viscous Shield, along with Socketing Spirit for the massive schlong damage as per usual. Along the way, we also grab all of the disgustingly strong, rare nodes, of course, but you know that by now. And finally, Revealing for more damage, and Colossal for huge amounts of damage, and yet another scaling factor from Resolve stacks, making it 3 in total, Redirected Force, Harambe skill passive, and then this one. Pretty damn strong. Well, damn friends, that's the Perragons complete as well. And it's about time, as we need to get hecking good already. While speed blasting, it's extremely simple. You press all of your cooldowns when they're up and just teleport around like crazy with your dash. In this footage right here, I even imprinted the metamorphosis aspect, partially to become fast as fuckboy, but also because it was fun as hell to have an additional teleport on. The Hunter is your main mobility skill here, and you'll typically use it whenever you don't have any enemies to dash to. You also need to know that the Hunter massively boosts your damage whenever enemies are below 35% health. This, along with popping Armored Hide and Scourge, are humongous damage bonuses for you. When it comes to pushing, however, then you want to line the enemies up for sure. You only do serious damage whenever something blows up. And when enemies explode, then so do you. That's just how it is out here. This is also true on the bosses. You stack them together, and when they die, you win the game. Easy peasy. Other than that, though, you just blast, man. Press all of your buttons, vortex your enemies, scourge them, and repeat. Do that for a few days, and then I'll see you in the next build, my man.
Digs out for Harambe!